Back at it again, baby, and we've got an interesting one. Let's dive in.
In the first half of the 19th century, 4 million blacks worked as slaves imprisoned on plantations in the American South. They were prevented from learning how to read, their families were forcibly broken up, and if they tried to escape, they were severely and brutally punished. The owners of these plantations were almost without exception Democrats. Before the Civil War, slave-owning Democrats used black bodies to massively increase the number of votes they got in Congress and the Electoral College. Because of the 3/5 compromise, a single Democrat in Georgia who owned 5 slaves got 4 times the representation as a single white abolitionist in Pennsylvania who didn't own any.
Sheesh.
So for Democrats, it has always been about using black bodies for political power. How they are used may vary, but the plantation model remains a constant, even today. Despite the fact that blacks are no longer enslaved, many black children barely learn to read in poorly performing schools. Our families are often shattered by misguided welfare policies, and if we try to escape, we still face punishment. Of course, the plantations of the 21st century are not physical, they are virtual. The owners of these plantations are once again, almost without exception, Democrats. Think about it. What today are certain areas of Chicago, Baltimore, Detroit, St. Louis?
That is very interesting. Slaves back in the day weren't educated, weren't allowed to be educated, very poorly educated, if educated at all. And like she said, terrible schools, poorly educating the children, breaking up of the family structure during slavery as well. You know, so like you get some similarities there, which makes you just stop and think for a second, like, interesante, you know? But anyway, let's continue on.
What today are certain areas of Chicago, Baltimore, Detroit, St. Louis, Atlanta, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia, all run for decades by Democrats, but virtual plantations? Many who live in these areas are largely, if not totally, dependent on their masters, the politicians, for their food, housing, and health care.
Welfare.
It's hardly a fair exchange.
Housing. Yeah.
The politicians become wealthy. The residents become vote slaves, sustained just barely by government transfer payments.
Yep. See? And I like how they put that very, very plainly for anybody, you know. I hand you my vote. You hand me some welfare. I'll give you a sliver of what I have. And I touched on this the other day. How in the world is Nancy Pelosi worth so much money? I'm talking hundreds of millions. Her salary isn't even $1 million a year. So how did she go from that to hundreds of millions? And maybe it's legit. Definitely possible. You know, maybe she's good, you know, with the stock market, made some smart investments, got a large inheritance from her parents or something, you know, but that's just one example. I don't know. If anybody knows, let me know in the comment section. Like I said, maybe she got an inheritance or, you know, was just good at investing in the stock market or something and created that wealth, but it's a little questionable. Let's continue on.
Government transfer payments. And just like the plantations of yesteryear, which demanded a consistent breakdown of the black family to reinforce its system of buying and selling slaves, Democrats today incentivize similar family corrosion through their policies, fostering dependence not on mom and dad, but on the government. To give just one example, virtually every inner city school provides free breakfast and lunch. Sounds generous, but what it really does is remove the traditional responsibility from parents by handing it over to the state. Yet many do break free from this oppressive system. Like the fugitive slave Frederick Douglass once did, they run toward a better life. But leaving the plantation still entails great risk. Of course, today it's not the whip or the lash, it's libel and slander. The purpose is to bring black conservatives within an inch of their professional and sometimes personal lives a warning that rebellion will not be tolerated. Don't believe it? Just ask Dr. Ben Carson, Hoover Institution economist Thomas Sowell, or Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, to cite 3 prominent examples. Carson, one of the most celebrated brain surgeons of the modern era, has been called stupid by the legacy media because he has conservative political views. Thomas Sowell, who went to Harvard and taught at Cornell, Amherst, and UCLA, and may be the nation's most brilliant economist, has largely been ignored, while many lesser lights have been celebrated. Clarence Thomas.
Yeah, I didn't know about Thomas Sowell until recently, until maybe a couple months ago. And, and I've spoken about this before, but listening to his speeches, going through his body of work, it's just like, how in the world is this not being taught in schools? How are kids not watching his lectures in classrooms? We're talking about gender studies instead of teaching about Thomas Sowell and some of the things that he's spoken about. That's part of the problem. You're learning about stuff that means absolutely nothing instead of stuff with some actual value. Thomas Sowell should be required reading in high school. But that's just my opinion. Y'all can let me know how you feel.
Actually been ignored, while many lesser lights have been celebrated. Clarence Thomas, one of the luminous legal minds of our time, was the victim of a massive smear campaign during his nomination to the Supreme Court. Because of his conservative views, his reputation was dragged through the media mud. This is how he described the experience. It is a high-tech lynching for uppity blacks who in any way deign to think for themselves, to do for themselves, to have different ideas. And it is a message that unless you kowtow to an old order, this is what will happen to you. You will be lynched, destroyed, caricatured, rather than hung from a tree. Today's plantation owners will do anything to hold on to what they see as their property. Little wonder. In 2012, Barack Obama received 93% of the black vote. In 2016, Hillary Clinton received 88%. That dip was a critical factor in Clinton's loss. The Democrats know that they can't lose the black vote and win a national election, so they make up lies. They say America was founded for the purpose of perpetuating slavery. They say white people hate us. They say the entire system is racist and that our...
in the whole, that they say, hold on, not that
They
one.
say white people hate us.
That one. They say white people hate us. We checked out a video, I want to say it was an Ami Horowitz video a while back, and they were like having like a conference, if I remember correct, and there was just like some white people talking about how horrible they were, and I'm like, you realize you're talking about yourself? It was almost as if like they weren't even white, and they were just I don't know, it was so weird to watch. And I'm like, yo, like, you don't hate anybody. Like, you're not at fault for what some people did way back in the day. Like, it's cool. Like, everything's good. You don't have to play this blame game. Oh yeah, man, I have to hold this guilt for what they did back in it. Because let me tell you something. If my grandfather did something to somebody, I ain't responsible for it. Don't look to me. Now, like, I'm sorry for whatever it was that he did, but I ain't responsible. Take that up with him. And that's the way that I see it. But y'all can let me know how you are feeling in the comments section, please. I just think that's weird, but yeah.
White people hate us. They say the entire system is racist and that our only hope is them. The same old Democrats. The plantation owners know what will happen if blacks demand that their children receive a good education, if they shake off their dependence on government handouts, if they refuse to see themselves as victims and instead embrace all the opportunities America offers. The plantation system would collapse once and for all. In the 19th century, we had to depend on others to be liberated. This time, we have to do it ourselves. Will we? I'm Candace Owens, author of Blackout, How Black America Can Make Its Second Escape from the Democrat Plantation for Prager University.
Candace dropping some truth bombs on us. I love it. But yeah, like she was saying, the similarities, striking, huh? Very interesting. Gives you a cause to pause for a moment. And I think a lot more people need to be educated on some of this stuff and open their eyes to what is actually going on, because just handing your vote to someone devalues your vote. So what incentive do they have to actually follow through with what it is that they say they're going to do? They don't, because they know they're just automatically going to get it. You know, like Sunny Holston said, if you're black and you vote, or she said, if you are a person of color and you vote Republican, you're an oxymoron. She's not the only person that thinks that way. Now, if the Democrats are doing something right, cool, great. You know what I mean? Like I've always said, right is right, wrong is wrong. It should be that simple. You know, if the roles were reversed, if Republicans started doing some horrible, terrible, no good, very bad things, I think we all, well, at least I would hope we all could agree, all right, the Democrats are doing the right thing. The Republicans are royally messing up. They aren't doing the right thing, so we're going to all vote Democrat. If Republicans were in charge right now, I would be saying the exact same thing. Like, what are y'all doing? You're not getting my vote. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it should be that simple. Like, if you are royally screwing things up, your skin color shouldn't factor into that equation. But I feel like for a lot of people, it does. And a lot of black people in general. A lot of black people feel this aversion to, I could never vote Republican, and I'll make up any type of excuse for what is happening. You know, well, it's the Republicans' fault. Like, yo, well, the Republicans aren't even like in power right now. I mean, there's not really a whole lot they can do at the moment, you know. So what do you mean? Well, it's this or it's that. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's sad to watch. It truly is. But how do you guys think we can help to educate more folks? Because I think the problem is education. People just don't know what they don't know. I feel like it's that simple. But how do we reach out to them? How do we garner their attention, their eyeballs? How do we get them to truly listen? Not hear us, but to truly listen. Let me know in the comment section below. Like, share, comment, and of course, hit that subscribe button before you go. Peace and love. I'm out.